66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's a little bit too late. Do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first? Do you want your hairline to recede, or do you want to do something about that first? Well, guess what? I've got a solution. You know what? It's Hims, Hims. Go to hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and other wellness supplements for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Well-known genetic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions backed by science. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today right now while supplies last. See website for full details. That would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to forhims.com/Stephen A. That's forhims, forhims.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Ha ha! What's going on, everybody? Guess who's back? Your boy Stephen A. Smith in the house, coming at you on ESPN Radio, as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. No, I did not forget the number over the last 3 weeks. Damn it, I've been gone. Damn it, I needed the break. Living sports every day, every hour of every day, not taking days off. Damn it, it caught up with me after the NBA Finals. I needed a break. I ultimately got it near mid-October, and I've been gone until today. Having said all of that, I am rested. I am clocked. I'm ready to rock. I'm hyped. There's a whole bunch of stuff to get into, but before I do that, let me just say this. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, now it's warming up, it's time to get out to the stadium and catch a few ball games. Or take your lady to a show of your favorite concert. She'll love that. The official ticket partner of ESPN has you covered. Go to vividseats.com/ESPN for your exclusive discount offer. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Lots of old stories, per se, to get into. Stories that are still percolating, stories that are still relevant, but stories that have been touched upon ad nauseum, except by yours truly. Because for the first time in what has undoubtedly been an illustrious career, meaning mine, I was completely off the radar. I have not been on TV at all since July the 6th. I said to hell with everybody. Sayonara. I'm out. I have been gone. I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't been interviewed by anybody. I haven't done any interviews. So today is the first day that I'm talking about a lot of things. But before I get into the stuff from the past, let me say this. Let me touch on the Major League Baseball trading deadline. It is important. It is imperative that I touch on that. New York Yankees won a little something. I'm very happy with what I saw them do. From Zach Britton to J.A. Happ to Lance Lynn, the bottom line is simple. The New York Yankees have buffered their rotation. Once the Judge himself, Aaron Judge, comes back, assuming he's healthy and ready to roar, I expect no one outside of the Houston Astros to be standing in the New York Yankees' way. Having said all of that, I think they made an error. I think the winner clearly has been the Los Angeles Dodgers. Picking up Manny Machado, obviously helped them. You think about the bats that they have added. There is no doubt about that. With Justin Turner out, Machado's at first base, hitting .304 with a .500 slugging percentage. Even if the Dodgers fail to win the World Series, even if they fail to reach the postseason, I'm reading from an article on ESPN.com right now, the front office can know it turned over every rock to get better this season by landing Machado, second baseman Brian Dozier, and reliever John Axford. Here's my problem with the Dodgers. What about that damn bullpen? What about it? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you ain't winning anything unless you get pitching. I don't give a damn what anybody says. You don't have pitching, you ain't winning the World Series. I've never seen a team devoid of pitching that just had bats that somehow won a championship. I saw them winning the regular season. I've even saw them win a pennant. I've never seen them win a World Series, so that's a problem. And the fact that the Dodgers did not shore up their bullpen, to me, is going to count against them. They won. Major League Baseball trading deadline, they won. You got Manny Machado there, you won. No question about it. New York Yankees won in the American League, Dodgers won in the National League. I get it. One could argue that if you look at the Boston Red Sox, guess what, New York Yankees? They might have won this damn thing. They didn't get Kelvin Herrera, but they did upgrade their defense at second base by adding Ian Kinsler. Nobody can deny that. And they improved their rotation by adding Eovaldi. Even though I've never been that high on him, he's serviceable, he's quality, he can do some things. The Yankees still, to me, handled their business. They deserve a similar grade to what the Boston Red Sox have, which my man Buster Olney pointed out. Props to him. But in the end, pitching does it for you. And when I think about Keuchel and I think about Verlander and the crew, damn it, Houston is no joke. And I think that when all is said and done, Altuve, even though he's on a DL, and Springer and these boys, do you really think they're not going to show up to defend their crown when it really, really starts? They will be there. I think they could be standing in the way of the New York Yankees, but I still give Yankees and GM Brian Cashman props for upgrading their roster. Here's where I think the Yankees dropped the ball, but nobody bigger than these pathetic, embarrassing, the walking abomination that is the New York Mets. How in the hell? Nuno, look at me when I'm talking to you. Cat, look at me when I'm talking to you. How in the hell are the New York Mets down 21-0? We ain't talking football, y'all. This is baseball. You don't get 6 points for a touchdown in baseball. There are no touchdowns in baseball. There's one run at a time. How in the name of the good Lord are you down 21-0? And oh, by the way, you end up being down 25-0 or 25-1. And there are actually people in your dugout laughing and smiling. Jose Reyes pitching, throwing 53-mile-per-hour fastballs that's hitting Washington Nationals in the lower left leg, and guys playing around and joking around, acting like they're going to charge the mound, literally laughing at your expense. And the New York Mets are asking, where's Don Juan LaGreca when I'm looking for him? Where are you, Don? Famed radio host, co-host with the Michael K. Show in New York City every weekday. Where the hell are you? What explanation could you come up with to justify being down by 20-plus runs and you got guys in the dugout laughing like it's spring training and the games don't count? And you're just having a blast while you're getting romped. You see, Don Juan LaGreca, this is why people like you and my boy Jeff Brown, this is how y'all are cruel to your children and your loved ones, your family. Because you act, I'm teasing you, Don Juan, because you know I love you, my brother. I love you to death. And here's the problem. People like you and my boy Jeff Brown in L.A., contaminating my godchildren by growing them up to be Mets fans. This is where you drop the ball. Where the hell are you? When your team is sitting there in the dugout down 20-plus runs in the sport of baseball. Not basketball, not football, baseball. And y'all sitting in the dugout laughing. Eating pumpkin seeds and spitting them out when you're not chewing on your nasty tobacco. I mean, where are you? This is just disgusting. But I digress. Let me get back to what I'm saying about the Mets and how they really dropped the ball. That was just last night in their embarrassing performance. What I'm really talking about is their failure to ship DeGrom to the New York Yankees. I listened to my man Bob Wischusen fill in for me last week. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. People fill in because they fill in. Okay? You're a radio host. It's your show. And others fill in. I listen to Mr. Rothenberg and, you know, I'm just listening to the fellas fill in for me. And all of them were outstanding. Leave it to somebody else to decide who was better than the rest, whether or not they were better than me. I just want to say thank you. to everybody that filled in for me. I didn't listen to every show every day. But damn it, it's my show. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show. So you know I'm going to tune in when I can. And everybody that filled in for me, Mr. Canty himself, a superstar in the making in this business, by the way. Man, I love that brother. Catch him every morning in New York, too, by the way. 10 to 1. These brothers are special and they do an outstanding job, and I can't thank them enough for filling in for me. They're fantastic. But I digress. Let me get back to what I'm trying to say. Bob Wischusen, outstanding job, pointed out something quite profound. You're the New York Mets and you refuse to deal Jacob deGrom to the Yankees just because they're the Yankees. They're 5 miles away across town and you don't want to watch them succeed at the expense of you because you gave up a start at them. It's short-sighted. Do you see some of the prospects that the Yankees have? Sheffield and Florial and Abreu and this guy whose name is spelt like lasagna. Okay? Acevedo and Siegler and Stefan and Schmidt and Sauer and Medina and all of these guys, somebody in the Yankees farm system, a plethora of bodies, is somebody that you should have went and grabbed to get your hands on DeGrom if you're Brian Cashman. He's Jacob DeGrom. He's a flat-out stud. And if you're the Mets, with your pathetic, short-sighted, ignorant selves, you got Matz, you got Wheeler, you got Syndergaard. Why the hell couldn't you give up DeGrom and get a multitude of prospects? Mets dropped the ball. They messed up big time. And in my opinion, they're going to rue the day that they didn't move DeGrom for something of substance. They dropped the ball. They didn't get it done, plain and simple. But they're the Mets. So what else should I have expected? I'm not surprised. This is what they do. From the article written by the great Buster Olney for ESPN, the family right here. Contenders desperately search the trade market for any high-impact starting pitchers who would be under team control beyond 2018. And the Mets possess not one, but 2 starters who fit that description in DeGrom and Noah Syndergaard in a lost season. This is from Buster Olney, who gave the Mets an F, telling you why. He says the Mets could have made a killing in the market and pulled out a haul of prospects to reinvigorate their franchise, and now the moment is lost. The value of DeGrom and Syndergaard might never again come close to what it was in the past 2 weeks. And now the Mets are faced with the mountainous task of trying to improve the team for 2019 enough to justify the decision to hold on to their pitching. If they aren't willing to spend big dollars on free agents, there's almost no chance that can happen. Amen. An absolute disgrace on a part of the New York Mets, who are a walking embarrassment. People like Don Juan LaGreca in New York, like my boy Jeff Brown in L.A., should exile themselves from their affiliation with the New York Mets. They are a disgrace. A damn disgrace. You got DeGrom and Syndergaard. What's your problem? You don't have any bats worth noting. What's your problem? You're still recovering from Madoff that much? You're scared to spend money? Hell, one could make the argument that Bernie Madoff is in jail and still spending more money than the New York Mets. I mean, that's how pathetic they are. I mean, come on. It's just embarrassing. That was just one of the things I want to get off my chest. Point number 2. First of all, let me say major props to LeBron James. LeBron James, through his I Promise initiative, opened the school in Akron, Ohio, free tuition for the kids, and their parents, by the way, who are in pursuit of their GEDs. He also took the liberty of highlighting that those who graduate from the school would be given free tuition to the University of Akron. So you're talking about a gentleman who is the greatest basketball player in the world at this moment, who is a billionaire in all likelihood, whose philanthropy cannot be questioned. LeBron James deserves major props for what he has done for his hometown. Yes, Jalen Rose was right. There were others who have done it, but damn it, that don't have anything to do with LeBron. It doesn't take away from what he has done. Not to say that that's what Jalen Rose was implying, because I don't know that to be the case. But I'm just saying that LeBron James should be applauded for what he has done. It is tremendous. It is inspiring. It epitomizes on multitude of levels what a role model should be all about. And I cannot say enough and can't thank him enough for what he has done. It's an inspiration to us all, or at least it should be. That's LeBron James, the philanthropist. And by the way, if people like me, who firmly believe he will never be Michael Jordan, and he shouldn't be a part of the conversation in regards to the GOAT, I would never imply that when it comes to his philanthropy. You want to have a conversation about the GOAT involving LeBron James, bring this up and I'm all ears. But let's get back to basketball. See, LeBron James has decided that he's going to take his talents to Los Angeles, California. And I deeply am appreciative. I have no problem with LeBron James. That's exactly where I want him to go, for selfish reasons. I mean, where LeBron goes and when the Lakers are relevant, that requires me and obligates me to be out in Los Angeles more. Let's just say there are worse assignments to have. There are worse assignments to have than being forced to be in Los Angeles, California. I think there's a few worse assignments than that. So I am thankful and grateful to LeBron James for going to L.A. Having said all of that, there is something involving LeBron James, the basketball player, that no one has brought up. Yeah, Rondo's there now. Yeah, Lance Stevenson is there now. Yes, Mr. Shaq and the Fool himself, JaVale McGee, is there now. All of those things are true. Here's my question. How come Chris Paul didn't go? What about Melo? Is it just me? The Banana Boat Crew. Am I wrong, Nuno? The Banana Boat Crew. Doesn't that include the LeBron James, D. Wade, Melo, and Chris Paul? Ain't that true? Ain't that the Banana Boat Crew? I think that is. Well, let's analyze this. D. Wade is clearly on his way out. Age, attrition, wear and tear on the body has kicked in. He can still ball big time in moments. But over the course of 82 games, combined with playoff action, running up and down that court, that's a lot to ask on that body. So he's not what he used to be. He's contemplating retirement or a 3-year deal in China. I don't want to see D. Wade in China. I want him in the NBA. Retire from the NBA. Make your money with doing things on the side. Come into the broadcast industry, and showcase your NBA knowledge, even though I think he'll be too politically correct for it, and I'll have to get on him about that. But the bottom line is that there's a future for D. Wade in America. He don't have to go to China. That's number one. But you could get him for cheap. Is he thinking about going to L.A.? Not so sure about that. What about Melo? Melo opted into this $27.8 million deal with Oklahoma City, who then traded him to Atlanta Hawks, who bought him out, and now he's on the market. You could get Melo for $3 million. How come he ain't going to L.A.? And Chris Paul was a free agent, free to go anywhere he wanted to. And whereas he came within 48 minutes of advancing to the NBA Finals, for him, it was really Game 5, because after Game 5, he couldn't play because of the hamstring injury. He ain't getting any younger. How come he didn't go to L.A.? Now, obviously, he's in a good situation, because being a capitalist I am, I'd rather be in Houston than L.A. when it comes to my money. No state income taxes compared to state income taxes that exceed 12.3%. Seems like a no-brainer to me. But if you're thinking beyond the money and you're thinking about championships and LeBron is the greatest player in the world, how come CP3 ain't there? How come Melo's talking about going to Houston instead of to L.A.? Is it possible that everybody ain't as anxious to play with LeBron as everybody believes to be the case? I'm just asking. I mean, these are the kind of things that inquisitive minds would like to know about. Is that question beyond the pale? I would say no. That a beyond the pale question? No, I don't think so. That a beyond the pale question, Cat? I don't think so. I think it's entirely plausible. It's entirely fair to ask that question. Because after all, your daily friendly, your friendly neighborhood host, Stephen A., yours truly, has said repeatedly, as great as he is, there's some ball hogging that goes on with LeBron, at least in the past. We all heard that that's going to be different now that he's a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. Hell, he might even play center sometimes like Magic did in Game 6 against the Philadelphia 76ers in 1981. Oh my God, in 1980, oh my God. When Magic was going against Caldwell Jones and Darryl Dawkins, Chocolate Thunder, God rest his soul. All I'm saying is, hello, people. Is it plausible to contemplate or imagine that indeed there are some people that are not as anxious to play with LeBron James as one might surmise? I'm just asking. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. This was the LeBron James sitting down with our very own Rachel Nichols, talking about how much he likes his roster. I wonder why that is. But listen to what he had to say.
I love the young guys that they have. And, I'm not trying to force my hand in no way, shape, or form. I believe Rob and Magic and Jeannie has done an unbelievable job of kind of reshaping what the organization should be in the last few years on, keeping Dr. Bus, his dreams and what he was all about, to keep that going. So I feel like they know what's best for the team, and I wanted to be a piece to kind of continue that, continue that motion on being back, to a championship franchise where they should be.
I believe him. Because it's Magic and it's Rob Pelinka, who Kobe Bryant came on this show and just lavished with praises of brilliance. That's what he said about Rob Pelinka. And if you know anything about Rob Pelinka, when he was an agent, man knew what he was doing, knew what he was talking about. As a former basketball player that was a member of the Fab Five Michigan Wolverines, came off the bench, playing behind Jalen Rose, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson, Juwan Howard, Chris Webber. Rob Pelinka is a brilliant basketball mind, no question. Knows what he's doing. And Magic Johnson, is as close to a basketball savant as you'll find. Although some would question that since he drafted Lonzo Ball, number 2 overall, instead of Jason Tatum. But I digress. My point is, these are the kind of things that folks are thinking about. When LeBron James says he has faith in him, I believe it. All I'm going to say is he said the same thing when he was in Cleveland, and we knew that wasn't true. But I believe him here. I truly, truly do. Nevertheless, I'll pose this question to you to contemplate over the next few minutes. If guys haven't salivated towards playing with LeBron James, who's to say Kawhi Leonard's going to do that next year? Ladies and gentlemen, the Clippers may not be relevant in most of our eyes because the Clippers are no comparison to the Los Angeles Lakers in the city of Los Angeles, because all about the Lakers. That much is true. But Kawhi's a different cat. Cares about being in L.A. Even though he prefer the Lakers, cares about being in L.A. more than he cares about what particular franchise he plays for, and the Clippers are going to have the cap space to go after him next season. That's one element. Here's the other. Have y'all been to Toronto? Let Stephen A. tip you off on something. It is special. Toronto, Canada is special. It's a mosaic of the highest order. Trust me on this. And Toronto is the only NBA game in town in the entire country. That's going to be Masai Ujiri, the GM's pitch to Kawhi Leonard all year long. And you know how they lavish you with, dare I say, pleasantries when they want you desperately. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it in mind. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call. Your boy is back, fresh off vacation, and I ain't going nowhere for a while. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
I'm a squeaky toy, and I've got one job, getting chomped on by this little ankle sniffer. So pardon me for feeling inept compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, while I'm getting slobbered on, Geico is creating cool technology like their mobile app, which lets people pay their bills or file a claim. Plus, Geico is the fastest growing auto insurer for the last 10 years. Is it too much for me to ask for one more feature? Fast and friendly claim service like Geico, maybe? Oh, great. I'm getting buried again.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
While during the break, my TV was on, and Outside the Lines with the great one himself, Bob Lee, was on TV. Just did some closing arguments about the New York Mets. Ron Darling, Ray Cohen, Keith Hernandez. The Mets were so bad, losing 25-4 yesterday. Last night to the Washington Nationals. They were so bad, they were so awful, that because the trio had absolutely nothing to say, literally on the air, during the broadcast, they had to resort to reading the media guide verbatim over the air. I mean, the New York Mets are such a disgrace. Bravo to Don Juan LaGreca. Don Juan LaGreca, ladies and gentlemen, is a man you all should know nationwide. First of all, I know of no one who knows more hockey than him in our business. Number two, he's a phenomenal radio host. A great guy. Phenomenal guy. He really is. I love him dearly. But I'm upset with him and my boy Jeff Brown, one of my best friends in the world out in California, for what they've done to their children and their family and their loved ones. How do you subject people to the New York Mets? How do you do this? With a smile on your face and enthusiasm. How do you do that? If I'm Michael Kay, I'm looking at Don LaGreca and I'm going like this. Why am I sitting next to you today? Don LaGreca should call in sick. And I know he's going to quote me on this. He's going to be very upset at me. He's probably going to beat me up a little bit. And I'll take it. But Don Juan LaGreca, I'm saying it because I love you, man. Stop torturing yourself. The Mets stink. Perpetually. It's who they are. It's who they are. Give it up. I could get on my boy Jeff about the same thing, but here's the difference. Jeff hasn't been in New York in 20 years. He don't even come see him. So at least he has plausible deniability. Don wears it on his sleeve. I'll tell you this much. Fans in L.A. going to be saying the same thing about the Dodgers if they can't get it done this year. It's been 1988 since you haven't won a World Series. My God. It's 30 years. You're the Los Angeles Dodgers. Guggenheim Group is owning you now, not the McCourts. Get it together. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Got a lot of stuff to get into, and we will. Let's go to Drew in California. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., welcome back, brother.
Thank you.
I got a message for you from the ladies in L.A. When they heard LeBron was coming, they said, does that mean the Love Doctor's going to be here a little bit more?
Love Doctor's going to be here. Love Doctor's here.
I had to tell you that.
Love Doctor's here, bro. Love Doctor's always here. Love Doctor never fails. Never fails.
They found out you're coming to L.A. more because of LeBron. So I just had to give you that message real quick.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, I will be in L.A. more. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Stephen A., you know what? I'm having a great time this summer, Stephen A. I'm off summer from school, enjoying the weather. LeBron came to the Lakers. And who do you think ruined my summer? The Dallas Cowboys, Stephen A.
And why is that?
I'm tired of hearing about the Cowboys, Stephen A. I'm tired of it. They're going to be out of playoff contention come week 6.
Well, you know what? Let's be honest about something. First of all, in terms of popularity, not relevance, certainly not winning, but in terms of relevance, meaning being talked about at the water cooler, the Dallas Cowboys are America's team in terms of their popularity. Give them that much. Having said all of that, let me say this on a far more serious note, Drew. I totally disagree with Jerry Jones's position. I want to applaud my contemporary in this business, works out of television in the local Dallas area, Dale Henson, when he called Jerry Jones out, talking about you can have drug addicts on your team. You can have individuals who commit domestic violence on your team, but athletes who take a knee for racial injustice, they wouldn't be a part of your team. And then on top of it all, while a national anthem is being played, you have your cap on, where obviously it's not proper decorum to have that going on. Clearly, Jerry Jones is not about what he spews as it pertains to the national anthem. He's just all about business and his bottom line not being compromised. And that's what's that's what's permeating in his thoughts. But I also would like to say that I was disappointed in Dak Prescott's response to the question involving the issue of the national anthem and what have you, which I will explain in just a few minutes. But it's getting very, very interesting to say the least. But keep on going, Drew.
Yeah, no, that was just it, because they're camps out here in L.A., so we got to hear about them from these Cowboy L.A. fans. But other than that, Stephen, what do you expect from my Lakers, honestly?
I expect the Los Angeles Lakers to win 50-plus games, a minimum of a 15-game improvement, and to make it at least to the semifinals of the Western Conference playoffs. And I am predicting right now that the Los Angeles Lakers will meet the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference finals. That is what I'm predicting.
That's good enough for me.
That is what I'm predicting. Out west, with my producers shaking their heads no, when I've forgotten more basketball than they know. Okay, no. Here's the deal. James Harden is a superstar, and we know what Chris Paul can do. But I personally think losing Trevor Ariza is going to be a big loss for Houston. I really, really do. That's number one. Number two, Oklahoma City. Yes, I think they'll be a little better with Paul George and Russell Westbrook without Carmelo. But I still don't think they have enough. You got Utah. I think they're a solid team, and Donovan Mitchell is a superstar in the making, but they don't have enough. And that's just for starters. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'll touch on that national anthem issue and tell you what my real problem was with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys in a minute. You're listening to ESPN Radio, which is presented by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business is a big deal, so cover what you've worked so hard for. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com. Back with more Stephen A. on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! I've been waiting to touch on this as well. Jerry Jones, owner for the Dallas Cowboys, has a lot of things to say about this whole national anthem issue. Obviously, most of it was before he got busted keeping his hat on and not honoring the decorum that comes with saluting our flag and, standing for the national anthem and what have you. Haven't heard President Trump speak about that. Players do something like that. It's been about 5 tweets already. Jerry Jones does that. We haven't heard a word. But that's neither here nor there. Here's Jerry Jones speaking on his policy being in place before the NFL did.
It's our position that we've always had a written policy in place. That in and of itself is an issue, the interpretation of that policy. But I think we've always had a policy in place. But more importantly than anything, we certainly have a policy relative to the team. And that very clear.
So they had a policy in place, even though the NFL didn't. So there's no rules, collectively bargained, that stipulates and mandates standing for the national anthem if you're an NFL player. They had it in the NBA, had it in Major League Baseball, had it in the National Hockey League. Don't have it in the NFL. But Jerry Jones had his own policy. Okay. Says he doesn't support players staying in the locker room either. Listen to this.
Would you support a player who felt strongly that he needed to stay in the locker room during the playing of the anthem?
No, our policy is that you stand at the anthem, toeing the line.
Believe it or not, though, Jerry Jones did say he'd wish the president of the United States would stop doing something. Listen to this.
His interest in what we're doing is problematic from my chair, and I would say in general the owner's chair. Unprecedented if you really think about it. But like the very game itself, that's the way it is, and we'll deal with it. But, yes, everybody would like for it to go away.
Well, you want me to tell y'all what's really, really going on? Why these owners are so affected by the presence of President Trump? I'm going to tell you in just a few minutes. It hasn't been mentioned by anyone. But I'm going to tell you exactly why in a few minutes. Why the owners can't simply tell Donald Trump to go kick rocks, mind your damn business, and leave the NFL business to these NFL owners. I'm going to tell you specifically why. Not only can they not tell him that, but why almost the fear of God himself is instilled in them by President Trump. No one has brought this up, but I'll go there in a few minutes. Glenn in Philly, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A?
Talk to
First of all, I'm so glad to get in contact. You're my first-time caller, long-time listener.
Thank you.
And I got one question before I get into my NFL point.
Yep.
When you went to Winston-Salem State, was there a guy named Marcus on your basketball team? He was like 6'5", long brother.
Marcus?
I forgot his last name.
There was a Mark Turner.
Was he from Philly?
No, he was not.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
No, the person from Philly was Monte Ross, who was the former head coach at Delaware, the former assistant coach at St. Joe's University in Philadelphia, who's one of my best friends in the world. Gotcha. That was my teammate. That was my only guy from Philly. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. With this upcoming NFL season, how do you think the viewers are going to watch this game? And also, how do you think the referees are going to officiate this game when you can't use your helmet? Because a lot of times when you go to hit a guy, they duck their head to protect themselves, and their helmets are going to collide.
No excuses.
It's going to be
No excuses. The rules have been in place for long enough now, where clearly the NFL has made a statement and has taken a firm position against hitting with the crown of your helmet to helmet hits, etc. They've made it very clear where they've stood and where they stand. There is no excuse for any player to sit up there and lament it now. The rules are in place. They've been there for a long time. They're certainly not going to change. The NFL, according to reports, have distributed in excess of $500 million in payouts because of concussions. They are sticklers for this right now. They're hell-bent on correcting it so they don't have to dole out more dollars. There's no way to get around this. It is what it is. We're living in different times, and people need to get over it. But I got to go, man. I appreciate the call. Crystal in Florida, real quick. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. First-time caller. Been listening to you for all your ins and outs for ESPN, and before that and after that, love your man.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate the love. Go ahead real quick.
Love you. Anyway, I hate that Zeke was put in a position by his behavior that he really couldn't say too much behind this Jerry and this anthem and this all stuff. But I wish he hadn't just told the company line like that. But I understand the brother been in trouble and he probably had to do whatever. But that comment he made, that hurt my heart a little bit, that the brother went that way and didn't mention the real purpose of the protest, and didn't mention something he maybe wanted to do.
Yep. Crystal, you're absolutely right, and I'm going to elaborate on that. I've got a hard break. I got to get out, but I appreciate your call. I'm definitely going to elaborate on Dak Prescott. I'm going to tell y'all why President Trump has the owners in the palm of his hands. I'm also going to get into a couple of more NBA and NFL items involving Saquon Barkley and whether or not he's overhyped, along with Jalen Ramsey talking smack about Odell Beckham Jr. All that and more coming up, hour number 2.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's a little bit too late. Do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first? Do you want your hairline to recede, or do you want to do something about that first? Well, guess what? I've got a solution. You know what? It's Hims, Hims. Go to hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skin care, and other wellness supplements for men. Thanks to science, boldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Well-known genetic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions backed by science. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today right now while supplies last. See website for full details. That would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims, FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you on ESPN Radio, as I love to be every weekday. 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Barbasol is finally making razors. That's a no-brainer. Check out the Barbasol Ultra 6 Plus with 6 ultra-thin blades. Save on the Ultra 6 Plus at Barbasol.com. You know, a couple of things before I get into it. One thing before I get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, you may have heard, it is true. Come August 13th, that would be 2 weeks from yesterday, I believe. August 13th, from yesterday. Let me double check that. I mean, I'm not great with the calendar. August 13th would be Monday. I apologize. 2 weeks from this past Monday. The Stephen A. Smith Show will be coming at you live on national television. I will be on ESPN News. Same bad time, same bad channel. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on ESPN News. The Stephen A. Smith Radio Show will be simulcast on national television, ESPN News, as of August 13th. Monday, August 13th. Be there. You know I will. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Before I get into this national anthem issue, just a little bit extra. July 20th, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, tweets, quote, "The NFL national anthem debate is alive and well again. Can't believe it. Isn't it in contract that players must stand at attention, hand on heart? The $40 million commissioner must now make a stand. First time kneeling, out for the game. Second time kneeling, out for season / no pay." July 27th, Donald Trump responding to Jerry Jones' comments. "Way to go, Jerry. This is what the league should do." His buddy. Yeah, we didn't hear a word from the president when Jerry Jones stood, but he wasn't standing on attention. His hand was not on his heart. And he had a baseball cap on. He didn't hear anything from Donald Trump then. So I see, Mr. President, it's all right to call out the players, but not the owner, who happens to be your friend, your billionaire friend? Really? Double standard if ever there was one. Let me take this a step further. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why Donald Trump has the owners in his back pocket. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any idea how much money an owner saves when you're allowed to get public funds to help build stadiums? Have any of y'all, I'm looking at my producers in this room, have any of y'all thought about that? Have any of y'all thought about the money that owners save for themselves by being able to get funds from the public for their stadiums, the upgrades, the suites, just new stadiums, period? Did you realize that? Did you realize that with the snap of a finger, the president of the United States can eviscerate that? You think Donald Trump hasn't reminded them of that? You think the owners don't know that? Why do you think they're scared to speak against this man? Because the owners, if they have shown you nothing else, is that they care about dollars. And Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has the power to compromise their bottom line drastically. Why do you think Bob McNair was in such a panic when he was addressing the players in those excerpts we saw in the New York Times when they had met with the Players Coalition. Remember that? Jerry Jones has clearly unapologetically told you he's about the bottom line. He told the players to their face, this whole issue's costing me money. If it costs me money, I'm going to make sure it costs you money. This is not a football meeting. This is a business meeting. This is what he told them months ago. So please understand what this is about. This is about the bottom line. This is about their bottom line being compromised. And if they were worried about vitriol coming from a fan base that might not patronize their product to the degree that they would like because of the whole national anthem issue, how scared do you think they are of the president? They're petrified. They're like a bunch of petrified puppies getting ready to wet their pants. Scared to death that Donald Trump might do something. He acts crazy enough to do it, you know. The president has showed you what the comedian Cat Williams pointed out. He said Donald Trump would a tweet from his toilet to get at you. Don't give a damn. Wait till they see what I do with this. They want to talk. That's how he rolls. He just called investigators mob bosses because they going after this boy Paul Manafort or somebody that just worked for a short period of time for his campaign. This is who he is. He does not forget. He didn't forget when they didn't let him in as an owner in the 80s. He didn't forget when they didn't let him in as an owner in 2014. He ain't going to forget now. Period. And I already told y'all numerous times. He told me personally that if they didn't let him in as owner for the Buffalo Bills in 2014 when he and I were on the phone directly, that he would run for the presidency. Clearly he wasn't playing, he wasn't lying, and damn it, he won. So this is what you're dealing with. And if owners who made $255 million apiece, who despite all the national anthem controversy still generated 4.9% increase in revenue, and that ain't enough, could you imagine what a loss would make them feel like? Open your eyes and understand this is all about business and absolutely positively nothing else to the owners. Nevertheless, Cowboys VP Stephen Jones on the Ticket 96.7 FM in Dallas talked about a couple of things. Number one, about punish protesting players. Listen to this.
If a player chooses to stay in the locker room, which is something right now the league permits, will the Cowboys punish that player?
Yes. There's one way to do it right in our mind, and that's go toes on the line and stand for the anthem. That's, this is not an I or a me thing. This is an organizational thing. We feel strongly about it. We don't think it's a controversy. We just think that's the way we do it. Jerry feels strongly about it. He's had a good feel for what our organization should be over 30 years. I think it's paid off for our players for the most part.
That's one thing Stephen Jones had to say. Total line. We ain't budging. He wasn't finished there. He continued talking about happy to help players, but not during the game.
We certainly are supportive of them when they have their personal issues or their personal things that they want to pursue, and we'll help them pursue them on Tuesdays. But when you're wearing the Dallas Cowboy uniform and a Dallas Cowboy helmet and you're working for the Dallas Cowboys, you check the I and the me at the door, and you're a part of a team.
He didn't stop there. The question was asked to him. Do players have a reason to protest?
Do you agree with the fact that they have a case to make to America?
Yes, and we would support that case. We just think there's better ways to do it. And, we don't want to get into a lot of dialogue with that, but we will support our players with resources in their pursuit of social injustice. We support that, and we'll be behind them and support them.
What about a backlash? This is Stephen Jones, Cowboys VP, The son of Jerry Jones responding to the potential of a backlash.
And you don't feel you'll have any backlash, or as far as players on your team, they'll follow the rules that you guys have?
If they want to be a Dallas Cowboy, yes.
I just laugh. Because you see, first of all, they just sticking out their chest, bloviating, talking a bunch of nonsense. Stephen Jones, with all due respect, shut the hell up. You're such a liar. Dak Prescott sits up there and says, I'm a kneel. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Ezekiel Elliott, not that he's in any position to cause any kind of trouble. God knows he's not because of his background, the troubles that he's been in, the 6-game suspension last year, most notably. But Ezekiel Elliott, he takes a knee for the national anthem. And Dak Prescott together. What Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones gonna do? Who are you talking to? But we'll never know. And Dak Prescott proved that to us yesterday when he spoke on the issue of protest. Listen to this.
No, I never protest. I never protest during the anthem, and I don't think that's the time or the venue to do so. The game of football has always brought me such a peace, and I think it does the same for a lot of people. A lot of people playing the game, a lot of people watching the game, a lot of people that have any impact of the game. So when you bring such a controversy to the stadium, to the field, to the game, it takes away from that. It takes away from the joy and to the love that football brings a lot of people. And so for me, I'm all about making a change, making a difference. And I think this whole kneeling and all that was all about just raising awareness, and the fact that we're still talking about social injustice years later. I think we got to that point. I think we've proved and we know that there's social injustice. So I'm up for taking a next step, that whatever that step may be, for action and not just kneeling. I've always believed standing up for what I believe in, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Let me say this for the record. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no problem with Dak Prescott's position. If I were in his position, I'd probably do the same thing. I have men who have served in the military in our family, and although I know that the issue has never been about the flag, it has been about racial injustice and oppression in the United States of America that has been exacted and exercised against members of the minority communities, particularly the black community. Because I have military men in my family who would have interpreted it as otherwise to some degree based on what we're seeing because of how the issue has been hijacked successfully, I might add, by the president of the United States, I wouldn't even put myself in that position. I don't want anyone to have the argument, even remotely, that I'm unpatriotic. I'm red, white, and blue, baby. I'm a black man first, but make no mistake about it, I love America. And I'm going to stand up for America. Greatest country in the world. I firmly believe that. That's why everybody want to come here. So I don't have a problem with Dak Prescott saying he would not have kneeled. Here's where I have a problem with Dak Prescott. You could have sat up there and said, I disagree with Jerry Jones. You could have sat up there and said, me and my boss are going to have a conversation. That's none of y'all business. I ain't going to tell y'all what we're going to talk about. But obviously, I take issue with some things that he said, and he and I need to have a conversation about that. You could have said that. You can't be in Dak Prescott's position and just act as if you're totally oblivious, immune, or distant from the level of oppression that has been exacted against folks from the minority communities in this country. You know good and damn well you yourself experienced it. So to just sit up there and echo the sentiments of your boss, devoid of elaboration, is a problem. Now, I don't know Dak Prescott personally, and everything that I've heard about him, and mind you, listen, the cowboy hater I am, ladies and gentlemen, that's all in fun. If you go on social media, you'll see a picture of me and Jerry Jones together hugging one another. I know he's a great businessman and a great marketer. And I don't look at Jerry Jones and think plantation mentality like Richard Sherman say. I think about a billionaire boss who don't give a damn about anything but the green. That's how I view him. I've heard too many stories from the playmaker, from Emmett, from Michael, from Deion Sanders and Darren Woodson and Nate Newton and a plethora of African Americans who have played for Jerry Jones, who speak to the character of this man. I will not denigrate him in that way. I will not do that. That is not fair. I think the positions that he take is strictly about business. He ain't trying to lose money, period. He don't give a damn what color you are. You compromise his bottom line, you are a problem for him. That's how I view Jerry Jones. Not to say that I totally disagree with Richard Sherman, because I understand where he's coming from in general based on the statement. And I find Richard Sherman to be brilliant. And I got a lot of love for that brother. But in terms of Jerry Jones, I think he's about business. I don't think he's about black and white. I think he's about green. But still in all, he has said what he has said. Obviously, his comments are targeted towards a specific group, even though there have been white individuals who have wrapped their arms around individuals who have taken a knee. Jerry Jones himself took a knee with the players, which was a big deal. For Jerry Jones to take a knee? Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones don't take a knee to white billionaire owners. Have y'all thought about that? Jerry Jones doesn't take a knee to white billionaire owners. He's constantly disrupting things because he believes in his way and the cowboy way instead of the NFL way. But he took a knee when Donald Trump said, fire those sons of bees. He took a knee. Jerry Jones took a knee. And if I remember correctly, so did Stephen Jones. So my cowboy hating tendencies, that's all fun, ladies and gentlemen. That's me being a football guy and just having a good time. It's all in fun. I grew up in New York hating on them. It's fun. This is serious. I will not denigrate them that way. But I will respectfully disagree. I will respectfully call Jerry Jones on his lack of sensitivity, but I'll blame it on his zest for the bottom line. Not because he dislikes and doesn't respect black people. Not going to accuse him of that. But if you're Dak Prescott, I know you're young. I know you're only in your third year in the league. I get it. But come on, bro. You got some of your brothers out there, your contemporaries, your warriors in arms that have spoken out adamantly and articulately about this issue. And that's all you got? Oh, I would stand. I don't think that's the appropriate place. You sound like Jerry Jones' son. Who are you now, Ocho Cinco, who calls the commissioner daddy? Who are you now? Come on, bro. And I'm not using that analogy to be disrespectful, Dak Prescott, I swear. I'm using that analogy because that's how it comes across. You can stand for the national anthem. You can say that that's not what I'm going to do. You can definitely do all of those things, and you right on the money. You're right to feel that way. That is your right. But you can't, in the same breath, say, I got to have a talk with my boss, because I kind of disagree with the lack of sensitivity that seems to be exercised or being articulated at this moment in time about this issue. You can disagree with a lot of our brothers out there without being so dismissive. Toe the line on an issue like this, bringing attention to racial inequality and oppression, an issue that's near and dear to 70% of your player populace, and you just gonna say, damn all of that, toe the line? Nothing else matters? Your boss said that, you got nothing to say to him? I work for ESPN. It's worldwide leader. ESPN is just as big to us as the Dallas Cowboys are to football. Let me be the first to tell you, I think Jimmy Pitaro's a star. Looking forward to working for him. Connor Shell is already an Academy Award winner. One of the executive producers for OJ in America. We know what he brings to the table. Norby Williamson, phenomenal boss. I worked for a few bosses here. When I first started, it was the great Mark Shapiro. After him, it was John Skipper. Overseeing both of them was George Bodenheimer. I'm an employee. I know my place. But if they sounded like Jerry Jones sounded, y'all would never know the details. Because none of your damn business. That's an in-house family matter. But the one thing I could assure you of, Stephen A. will have a conversation with those folks. I promise you there will be a conversation. To be so dismissive, the way Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones has come across, is bad enough. But for Dak Prescott to sit up there and say, hey, that's just the way it is. Nah, that ain't acceptable. Big boss of radio, Troy Keller, just walked in the studio. Been running ESPN radio for years. We're successful, thank him. But let ask Troy Keller if he sounded like Jerry Jones or he sounded like Stephen Jones, whether or not him and Stephen A. will have a conversation. I promise you. Troy, I'm looking at this man. This is my boss. Layers and layers and layers above me. And I promise you, he would come on the air and tell you, Stephen A. will have a conversation with me. Not the 50-year-old Stephen A., the 40-year-old Stephen A., the 30-year-old Stephen A., the 25-year-old Stephen A., the 23-year-old Stephen A. Come on, Dak. Come on, bro. Nobody's saying that you need to disrespect your boss. You respect Jerry Jones. You respect Stephen Jones. But you are a black man that played football at Mississippi. You ain't never experienced any kind of prejudice or anything whatsoever. You have no relation to racial injustice and oppression. Of course you do. And by virtue of that reality alone, you can't look Jerry Jones in the face and say, sir, I understand where you're coming from. I actually agree with you. But can't you show just a little sensitivity? Instead of being so hardcore in your language and talking about this issue, because Jerry Jones, whereas you might be able to go home and live your life as a billionaire, I'm a young black man that's got to walk in the streets. You can't help us out by making sure you don't put us in a position where we look so demure. You can't do that for us, Jerry? Sir? Like I said, I would have a conversation. But you know one of the greatest parts about working at ESPN? I wouldn't have to. Because Troy Keller, Norby Williamson, Connor Shell, Jimmy Pitaro, John Skipper, Mark Shapiro, and my God, the great one, George Bodenheimer, would never come across so dismissive and so insensitive on such a poignant and pertinent issue like this. Think about that, y'all. Think about that.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Got to keep your eyes on the developing story here. The ex-wife of former Ohio State assistant football coach Zach Smith, who was fired in July, says several people close to Buckeyes coach Urban Meyer, including Urban Meyer's wife, knew of a 2015 accusation of domestic violence against her husband. All the coaches' wives knew, Courtney Smith told college football reporter Brett McMurphy, in a story posted on his Facebook page. They all did, every single one, end quote. Shelley Meyer, Urban's wife and an instructor in Ohio State's College of Nursing, was among the coaches' wives who knew about the 2015 incident, Courtney Smith said, adding that she was never told that Shelley Meyer had told the coach about the allegations at the time. Smith also said that Haram DeFries, who has the title of special assistant to the head coach at Ohio State and has been a confidant of Urban Meyer for years, told her in 2009 not to pursue charges against Zach Smith after an incident in Florida. Myers was the Gators head coach at the time. Smith was an intern on his staff. So in other words, basically, ladies and gentlemen, Urban Meyer could be in potential trouble because, again, if he knew of charges of domestic violence against his assistant, Zach Smith, and procrastinated excessively, obviously that is a blemish. That is not a good thing. My only issue is that an accusation is entirely different than facts before your very eyes. We have seen instances where folks have been accused. Reuben Foster, I believe, for the 49ers to be exact, was accused before the alleged victim, his ex-girlfriend, confessed that she was upset that he had broken up with her and thus lied. But nevertheless, you're the head of the football program. You should have known. To say you didn't know, nobody's buying that. Number two, Urban Meyer has a history of letting things go. See Aaron Hernandez, if I remember correctly. Okay, some of the things that was going on at Florida when Urban Meyer was coaching there. Number three, we're living in a different age. And the fact of the matter is that an allegation is enough for you to lose your job. Everybody can't be an NFL player getting put on a commissioner's list where you end up still getting paid, but you can't play. Others lose their job. College football, basketball, other places. The question is, should the accusation alone be enough for you to lose your job? Some people say yes. Some people say no. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Brian, Callie, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, I appreciate the time, Stephen A. You are one of the most respected and most liked commentators of this sports in general. I would love to get your opinion on the issue of racism in the United States. Okay. And I know it's everywhere, but Mr. Jones and the Dallas Cowboys is obviously throwing the money before everything else, but I believe that he is somewhat of a person that likes his own type. Now, I don't know if that could be considered racism because a lot of blacks like hanging out with blacks. Mm-hmm. And if you would ask them an honest question, it may not be racism, but some blacks just love to hang out with blacks. Some whites love to hang out with white people. Sure. But I don't think that's considered racism.
Well, let me stop. Absolutely not. I have no problem with blacks wanting to hang out with blacks, whites wanting to hang out with whites. Here's the point. What you don't do is victimize, vilify, excoriate, backstab, and do harmful things to other people in the process. I have plenty of white folks that I know that would rather be with the white folks they hang out with instead of Stephen A. Smith. And I'm not remotely offended by it. By the way, you're talking to somebody. Remember when Larry Holmes fought Jerry Cooney in the 80s? Remember that, sir? Remember that, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Man, white folks was rooting for Jerry Cooney. Black folks was rooting for Larry Holmes. And I could care less. Let me tell every white folk out there, any white person that walked out there and didn't want Jerry Cooney to lose, that didn't bother me. I told Jerry Cooney that over there. I was a black man rooting for Larry Holmes. I didn't want Jerry Cooney to die. I didn't want him to get hurt. I wasn't hating on him or nothing, but damn it. I mean, as a proud black man with black folks on the come up constantly having to, climb ladders and crash the proverbial ceilings and all of that other stuff. Was I rooting for Larry Holmes? Yes. And I'll never apologize for it. That doesn't mean that I disliked or hated Jerry Cooney. So what I'm saying to you is that no, it's not. I think where you talk about racism, understand racism. You inherently have thoughts of superiority and therefore negativity and vitriol against someone else strictly on one's ethnicity. That is not right. And I don't believe that if you prefer hanging out with your own, that it might have a lot to do with comfort. If black folks were in your neighborhood, you might have been more comfortable with hanging around them. So I guard against it. Don't get me wrong. In some instances, that could be a telling nugget of evidence that speaks to who you may be or how you may think. But that alone does not define whether one's racially insensitive or racist. So I agree with you there, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You have a good day. Thank you for the call. Michael in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. Talk.
Hey, what's going on, Stephen A?
Talk to me,
welcome
man.
back.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you about the anthem.
Yep.
Because I feel that everybody sees red as soon as it's brought up and the message is lost and gone.
Yep.
And I personally believe that Colin Kaepernick sparked Trump to become president because it made all the generational hatred in this country come to the surface, and they're like, we have to go to Trump because he'll get everybody out of here. I think the only way to solve it is to get a round table with like some of the athletes, the social leaders, and do a network broadcast against every network, like a president would hijack the stations to do his.
Personally speaking,
things.
sir, I don't think it requires that in-depth, that level of depth any longer. You know what they can do? I call on players to challenge President Trump right now and say, how come you said nothing about Jerry Jones, but you're quick to say something about us? I think it's as simple as that right now. I think it's as simple as that right now. Jerry Jones, and I'm not trying to apply extra pressure on Jerry Jones. This is a serious issue. It's not just cowboy hating, okay? Because that, again, that's all in fun. This is serious. Let me be very, very clear. Jerry Jones has spoken adamantly in support of President Trump's position. Then why didn't you honor it yourself, A? And B, President Trump, how come you didn't say anything about it? Where were you? You had something to say when Jerry echoed your position. You had something to say when the players didn't. How come you didn't say anything about Jerry Jones not honoring the very policy both of you purportedly support? Very simple to me.
Very true. See, I just think, like, with the whole Jerry Jones thing, like, I understand he should be held accountable for that, but I think it needs to be taken off the football field and brought into the masses.
Can I ask you a question?
People live in their own little...
Can I ask you a question?
You
Do you know of any protest that's been about convenience?
No.
So when you say you don't believe it should be taken off the field, perhaps that's exactly why it was brought onto the field. Because everyone knows it would make you and others uncomfortable. That's what a protest is supposed to do.
See, it doesn't make me uncomfortable with being on the field. I feel everybody gets the message lost because it's on the field. Instead of saying, like, hey, that's my neighbor, I should respect him no matter what he looks like.
Michael, I applaud the correction. You're absolutely right. That's your interpretation. I'll go with what you said. No argument there. What I'm saying is the NFL finds it uncomfortable because you have owners who believe it affects their bottom line. So because they feel it affects their bottom line, the word discomfort or uncomfortable is applicable to them. And that was the goal of the NFL players.
Right.
All right?
Absolutely.
All right. Michael, I got to run. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. By the way, when's the last time you were at a game or concert? Go to vividseats.com/ESPN today for your exclusive discount offer. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. By the way, when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to because there is no contract. And they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Last segment of the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! JP in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., welcome back.
Thank you.
Stephen A., I got a bone to pick with you.
Mm-hmm.
A few problems I have with you.
Well, you ain't got that much time, but go ahead.
First of all, you keep talking about President Trump, right? Now, you do realize he knows every time he say, hey, you know what, the sun is outside, people going to protest, people going to say he's lying, the sun is not out, it's black outside, it's night.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that. Every time he brings up, the kneeling issue with the NFL, he knows he's keeping the issue alive with his $1 million tweets. His $1 million tweets.
So what's your point? Because we're running out of time. Go ahead.
My point is he is a proponent for, African Americans. But we do not see that because we are sheep.
Oh, my Lord. Can you do me a favor? I'm only interrupting you, JP. I need you to do me a favor. Hold that thought for tomorrow. I want to give you more time because I got to get off the air in a couple of minutes. I want to give you more time to elaborate on that one. So I want you to call me back early tomorrow in the show so you and I can holler about that one. All right?
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you everything he's doing.
Do that.
So
Let's talk. I'll put you right on the air. I promise. We're going to talk about this tomorrow, JP. Thanks a lot. Bruce and Butch in Philly. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Butch, go ahead.
Hey, real quick, Stephen A. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, man.
Real quick. I think the NFL players are really taking a hit that they shouldn't.
Okay.
As a former NAACP president,
Mm-hmm.
I think our power is getting these athletes to come at the people that can really make the change. And I'm talking about going to your council person, your state rep.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that can impact the mayor, because who hires these sheriffs? Who hires the police commissioners?
Fair.
You need to get at these people to make them do the due diligence to the police department to change their way of doing business in the African American.
Well, Butch,
community.
that's essentially what our former president, Barack Obama, explained during the Democratic National Convention in 2016 when he talked about, councilmen, mayors, state attorney generals, et cetera, et cetera. He talked about, localizing your efforts to get more folks involved that can speak on your behalf, that represent your interest, but putting forth your due diligence. In other words, when people would sit up there, for example, when he had spoken earlier, they was booing when he mentioned Trump. He said, don't boo, vote. And they didn't listen. 2 million less African Americans went to the polls than did for him in 2012 and 2008. That's why I don't want to hear anybody complaining about whatever they believe our present circumstances are. You had an opportunity to change it. You did it. And as a result, we have what we have. Deal with it. But we'll get into that and more tomorrow. It's great to be back off vacation. Talk to you in 22 hours. Until then, peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.